Hello, and welcome back to the 2021 TWC Virtual Workforce Forum. All attendees will be in listen-only mode throughout the remainder of the forum. Please note that the sessions are being recorded. The closed captioning link will be placed in the chat for your convenience. We will now have the 87th Texas Legislative Session update presented today by Tom McCarty, Director of External Relations, Texas Workforce Commission.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee, but I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will, but today I am still just a bill.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom McCarty, Director of External Relations, and it is a pleasure to provide you all with a legislative update at the Workforce Forum. Joining me today is Michael Britt.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Britt, Director of Governmental Relations. Together, Tom and I will walk you through the budget, bills of interest, and a few deadlines for the legislative session.
The Senate has passed their version of the budget, and last week, the House Appropriations Committee adopted a committee substitute to Senate Bill 1. We are hearing that the House is planning to consider the budget on the House floor on Thursday, April the 22nd. Both the House and the Senate budget recommendations have TWC budgeted at $3.8 billion for the biennium, which reflects a decrease in the agency's funding compared to the current biennium. The decrease in TWC's budget is due to the reduction of one-time federal funds received for COVID-19 response and the 5% reduction of agency funding applied to all agencies. Federal funds received by TWC related to COVID-19 include $88.3 million for unemployment insurance, $12 million in WIOA funding, and $1.4 billion in Child Care Development Block Grant funding. Now let's highlight a few funding areas beyond what was mentioned earlier for fiscal years 22 and 23. Apprenticeship has over $26 million appropriated for the biennium. At-risk and transitional child care, over $1.4 billion appropriated for the biennium. Adult education and literacy, over $164 million appropriated for the biennium, and $44 million for skills and $10 million for JET for the biennium. In addition to these funding amounts, the House and Senate budget recommendations also include all of TWC's capital budget exceptional item requests. TWC requested Capital Budget Authority to use federal funds for the following information technology improvements projects: the Vocational Rehabilitation Systems Replacement, Child Care System Replacement, Work Opportunity Tax Credit System Replacement, Foreign Labor Application System Replacement, TWC's Internet Redesign, Enhanced Customer Communication, and a new rider to provide for unexpended balance authority for TWC's Unemployment Insurance System Replacement that was authorized by the 86th Texas Legislature and was delayed due to COVID-19.
As Tom mentioned, the House is expected to consider the budget on the House floor on Thursday. During House floor consideration of the budget, amendments could be offered to alter funding amounts for TWC programs and services, as well as to create new programs within TWC. We will be monitoring the floor action and report on any riders affecting TWC that are adopted by the House next week. First, we have House Bill 618 by Representative Bunton and its Senate companion, Senate Bill 346 by Senator Paxton, relating to the participation of open enrollment charter schools in the Jobs and Education for Texans grant program. These bills add open enrollment charter schools to the eligible grantees for JET grants. Senate Bill 346 was passed by the Senate, and House Bill 618 has been reported favorably from committee to the full House. Next, we have House Bill 1032 by Representative Thiry, relating to certain public school workforce training programs funded by the Skills Development Fund and to authorizing school districts to provide funding using money received under the Foundation School Program. This bill allows for the reimbursement of private employers for the cost of paid internships or similar programs for eligible high school students in 11th and 12th grades participating in career and technology programs. The bill also adds school districts and open enrollment charter schools as eligible grantees. The committee substitute offered for this bill removes the Skills Development Fund as the funding mechanism for this initiative. This bill, as substituted, was reported favorably from the House Committee on International Relations and Economic Development on April the 1st. Next, we have House Bill 2611 by Representative Raney, relating to the direct reimbursement of certain employers under the Skills Development Fund. This bill would allow employers to apply to TWC for direct reimbursement of the cost of training provided to employees. The representative has also added the provisions of this bill to House Bill 3186, which Tom will talk about in just a second. This bill has not yet been heard in committee.
So HB 3186 by Representative Raney, relating to the use of the Skills Development Fund by certain entities. The bill amends statute to add the Texas Engineering Experiment Station to the list of entities eligible to receive funding under the Skills Development Fund. Representative Raney has proposed a committee substitute for this bill that would add the provisions of HB 2611 to the bill, allowing employers to receive direct reimbursements for costs of training provided to employees. The bill is pending in committee and was heard on April the 8th. Now, House Bill 4279 by Representative Dominguez, relating to the eligibility of the Windham School District to participate in the Jobs Education for Texas grant program. Now, this bill would allow for the Windham School District to be eligible to receive funding through the JET program. The bill is in the House Committee on International Relations and Economic Development and was also heard on April the 14th. Senate Bill 302 by Senator Hinojosa, relating to the administration of the Jobs Education for Texans grant program. This bill would add qualified nonprofits to the list of entities eligible to receive JET grant funding and also add 2 more members to the JET Advisory Board. The bill has not yet received a hearing in the committee. Now we're going to hear from Britt, who will cover unemployment insurance and a couple of other bills.
Next, we have House Bill 7 by Representative Bunton, relating to the computation of the replenishment ratio used to determine an employer's unemployment compensation contribution tax rate. This bill makes changes to the replenishment ratio used in the computation of unemployment insurance taxes to provide the Commission with authority to adjust the rate to spread out the collection of non-effective charges due to a disaster declaration that encompasses at least 50% of the counties in the state. House Bill 7 has been passed by the Texas House and is now awaiting action in the Texas Senate. Next, we have Senate Bill 5 by Senator Nichols and its House companion, House Bill 5 by Representative Ashby, relating to the expansion of broadband services to certain areas. These bills would establish a statewide broadband office and require a statewide plan for high-speed internet access, create a council that researches and monitors the progress of broadband service in underserved areas, as well as deploys services statewide. House Bill 5 was passed by the House last week and has been sent to the Senate for their consideration. Next, we have House Bill 3938 by Representative Keith Bell, relating to the establishment of the Industry-Based Certification Advisory Council and the transfer of certain duties to that advisory council. This bill establishes the Industry-Based Certification Advisory Council to advise TWC on the alignment of public high school career and technology education programs with current and future workforce needs in communities, regions, and statewide. The bill also transfers certain duties from the Texas Education Agency, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, and TWC to the Council. The bill is pending committee action from the House Committee on International Relations and Economic Development. The bill was heard in that committee on March 31st. Next, we have Senate Bill 861 by Senator Paxton, relating to remote meetings under the Open Meetings Law. This bill makes changes to the Texas Government Code to clarify requirements for notice and public participation in open meetings of governmental bodies that take place via video conference or telephone conference call. This bill was passed by the Senate Committee on Business and Commerce on April the 9th. We'll wrap up our review of legislation with an overview of child care bills making their way through the legislative process. I will now hand it over to Tom to start us off.
House Bill 619 by Representative Senfronia Thompson, relating to developing a strategic plan to support the child care workforce. The bill requires TWC to create a strategic plan to improve the quality of the workforce for child care providers. The bill also requires TWC to convene a work group to assist with the plan, and that work group must include child care providers, community stakeholders, and child care workers. The bill was passed by the House Committee on International Relations and Economic Development on April the 8th, and it's currently pending in the House Committee on Calendars. HB 1695 by Representative Raney, relating to establishing reimbursement rates for certain child care providers participating in the subsidized child care program administered by the Texas Workforce Commission. Now, this bill requires that each Workforce Development Board establishes a graduated child care reimbursement rate that aligns TWC's age group with HHSC's ratio and group sizes. The bill also requires higher rates in age groups with the lowest child to caregiver ratio, and that TWC have strategies to address increased infant and toddler costs for Texas Rising Star 3 and 4 staff providers due to the lower ratios for those children. This bill was passed by the House Committee on International Relations and Economic Development on April the 7th and is waiting to be placed on the House calendar. HB 1364 by Representative Romero, relating to referring children to local workforce development boards for subsidized child care services. The bill allows workforce development boards to accept referrals from child care providers with a contract for slots for children who are potentially eligible for subsidized child care services. This would allow contracted slots to be filled based on a provider's referral without the child being placed on the board's waiting list. The bill was passed by the House Committee on International Relations and Economic Development on April the 7th and is awaiting placement on the House calendar.
Next, we have House Bill 1792 by Representative Bunton, which is a TWC legislative initiative. And this bill relates to the evaluation of child care providers participating in the Texas Rising Star program. This bill would amend statute related to the Texas Rising Star certification program and would require TWC to procure an entity to conduct the assessor function for the program and removes the requirement for boards to provide evaluator staff. This bill was passed by the Texas House on April the 14th. Next, we have House Bill 2607 by Representative Tallarico, relating to the powers and duties of the Texas Workforce Commission and local workforce development boards regarding the provision of child care in the subsidized child care program. This bill would make participation in the Texas Rising Star program mandatory for all child care providers who participate in the subsidized child care program. The bill also establishes a maximum length of time that a provider may participate at the entry-level star rating. This bill was considered on the House floor on April 14th.
End of session deadlines. Let's talk about those for a little bit. There are only 6 weeks left of the 87th Texas Legislature's regular session. I'm sure Michael's pretty excited about that. As May approaches, we will start to see the constitutional deadlines for the end of the legislative session take effect. Legislation needs to be out of committee and set for consideration on the floor by these deadlines. In the House rules, the last day for the House to set a general calendar for the floor is May the 11th. But as you're watching your bills move through the process, I would suggest that you back these deadlines up by about 2 weeks in order to have a realistic chance of keeping the bills moving forward. There needs to be time for the administrative work associated with the bill moving from committee to calendars and onto the House floor, while also educating calendar committee members on the legislation. Constitutionally, the last day for the House to consider House bills on the general calendar is Thursday, May the 13th. And the last day for the House to consider House bills on the local and consent calendar is Friday, May the 21st. The last day for the House to consider Senate bills on the House floor is Tuesday, May the 25th. Sine Die is Monday, May the 31st.
For our planners, the 88th legislative session begins on January the 10th, 2023. This concludes our presentation. We'd like to thank you all for joining us today, and we apologize that we weren't able to be with you in person.
We look forward to seeing you at the next Workforce Forum.